Good morning, ladies. Happy Thursday. Welcome to today's live training. We are talking about the cost of guessing and why your personalized data just changes everything, really. So let's just dive right in. So I want to start with something that most coaches are not going to say to you. You already know how to eat clean. You already know that you should be sleeping. You know how stress is affecting your body. You already know what healthy is supposed to look like, right? So why isn't it working? Well, because here's what I see, and I mean this with everything in me. Most of the women in this room are not struggling because they lack discipline. They are struggling because they've been making educated guesses and calling it a plan. So you try something, it works for a little while, and then it stops, right? So you adjust, you try something else, maybe it works a little bit, and then it stops again. And somewhere in the middle of that cycle, you begin to stop trusting the process. And then this is the part that no one talks about. You start to stop trusting yourself. So type a yes in the chat below if that cycle sounds familiar. I see you, and I want you to know we're going to talk about exactly why that keeps happening today. Okay. So I want to do something a little different before we go any further. I want you to actually count, like, how many approaches have you tried in the last, I don't know, let's say 2 years? Like, not just like casually tried, but like you actually committed to. Was it like low carb, maybe a calorie deficit, intermittent fasting, high protein, a cleanse, a coach, a program, maybe a tracker, more cardio, less cardio, maybe cutting out alcohol, cutting out gluten, supplements? Like, how many approaches have you tried in the last 2 years? I would love to see that number in the chat. Too many to count. 10 plus. Too many to count. Lost track. Yeah. So, like, that's a lot, right? So I want you to think about something. Every single one of those attempts took something from you. It took time, it took money, it took mental energy, and it took hope. And every time it didn't work or it stopped working, it took a little bit of your confidence too. And that is the real cost of guessing. Not that you just not that you didn't lose the weight, right? Like, not that your energy is still super low, not just that, like, you still don't feel like yourself. It's that you've spent years trying and you're starting to wonder if your body is broken, right? It's not broken. It's just misread. So I want to tell you about a woman that I worked with, and as I describe her, I want you to notice if any part of this sounds like you. Okay, so she was in her mid-40s, super sharp, successful, driven, the kind of woman who decides to do something and she freaking does it. And she had done everything right. She hired a trainer, she tracked her food, she cut the calories, she added more protein, she started waking up early to get her workouts in before her family needed her. And for a while, it totally worked, right? She was having some success. And then one day, it literally just stopped. Just slowly, the scale stopped moving. The energy started to dip. The workouts that used to feel like super empowering started to feel like punishment. And she came to me and said, I'll never forget this, right? Like, she said, I feel like I'm working harder than I ever have, and my body is working against me. And I told her, your body isn't working against you. It's responding to what it's been given. And we just don't know yet what it actually needs. So here's what we found when we actually looked at her data. So her cortisol was dysregulated, which meant very high intensity workout that she was doing was actually increasing her stress load and not reducing it. Her iron was also low, which explained the fatigue that she just kept trying to push through every day. And then her genetics also showed us that she was a slow caffeine metabolizer. And this meant that the coffee she was using to compensate for that low energy was actually keeping her in that high stress state all day long. So, none of this was like obvious and red flag right in front of us, right? None of this showed up in how she looked. None of this would have been solved by trying harder. It was Like she wasn't failing the plan, but the plan was failing her because it wasn't built for her biology, right? So here's what I need you to understand. And this is the part that most coaches skip entirely. Guessing doesn't just delay your results, but guessing starts to accumulate. So every time that you undereat for too long, your metabolism adapts downward. Every time you push through exhaustion to work out, your cortisol spikes and your fat storage increases. And every time you cut something out without knowing why, you potentially remove something from your body that it might actually need. And then every time you jump from one thing to the next thing, your body never gets the signal that anything is like safe or stable. So over time, you're not just back to like square one, you're at square one with a body that's spent years learning to protect itself from all of your attempts to change it. So this is why when women come to me and say, I feel like my body is fighting me, well, it is, because it learned to do that. And the only way to reverse this is to stop guessing and to start giving your body what it's actually asking for. But you can't do that without information. And that's exactly what most programs unfortunately never give you. And this is why I made a very important decision to completely change how I work with my clients. And I've been in this industry long enough to know what's missing from most coaching programs. They just give you a template, right? They give you macros, they give you a workout plan, and they send you off hoping it works. I'm not willing to do that shit anymore because I've seen what happens when women stop guessing and start working with actual data. And the results aren't just better, they're lasting and they make sense. And for the first time, the woman actually understands why her body is doing that. So that's also why I rebranded my program to be called now the Built by Your Biology. Not because it's a catchy name, but because it's exactly what we do inside. We build your protocol around your blood work, your biomarkers, your genetic data, your chronotype, your hormonal patterns, your biology. Not someone else's, not a template, not a trend, but yours. And when you work that way, you stop spinning, you stop second guessing, you stop feeling like your body is a mystery that you can't solve because it's not a mystery anymore. So let me show you how this actually looks in real life because I don't want this to sound like abstract woo-woo. When you work with me inside the Built by Your Biology program, we start by getting a full picture, not your symptoms, not just your symptoms, not just your goals, but your data, right? So blood work that shows us how your body is actually functioning, not just whether your numbers are in range, but what they mean for your energy, your metabolism, and your hormones. Genetic testing that shows us how your body processes nutrients, how it responds to stress, and how it recovers from training. And then we build from there. So your nutrition isn't based on a calorie formula. It's based on how your body metabolizes macronutrients. So your training isn't based on what's trending and fancy and on TikTok, right? It's based on your recovery capacity and your cortisol patterns. And that is super, super important. Also your timing, like when you eat, when you train, when you rest, it's all based on your chronotype. So that's your biology's natural rhythm. Okay. This is precision coaching. And this is the reason it works when everything else has stopped working, because it's the first time you've ever had a plan that was actually designed for you. Now, I want to be really direct with you because I think that you've earned that. I've been in that cycle myself, and I think you've been in that cycle long enough. The trying, the adjusting, the hoping, the losing a little ground every time it doesn't work. And I know you're tired. Not lazy, tired, right? Tired of doing everything right and still feeling like you're missing something. Well, you are missing something. You're missing your data. And once you have it, everything changes. Now, again, like I know a lot of people will come to me and say, well, my doctor says all my labs are in great shape. They all look fine. There's nothing out of the ordinary. Well, a lot of doctors are looking at a conventional range when those numbers are, again, not made for you. And we look at a functional range that's a more optimal level. And we also take into account your symptoms, right? How many of you have had your blood work done and your doctor tells you, oh, it's all good, but you feel like shit, right? It's not because it's like this is a magic thing. And it's not because the program is magic or what I do is magic, but for the first time, I want you to understand exactly what your body needs, and you'll be able to give it that. And that's exactly what the Built by Your Biology program is. And that's what I do. And if you're ready, like truly ready to stop guessing and start knowing, I want to work with you. Now, here's what I want you to do right now. I want you to just book a free call with me. We'll just look and see where you are, what's been getting in the way, and whether or not this is a good fit for you. Okay. That's the biggest thing. Is it a good fit for you? And are you a good fit for the program? Okay. If it is, I'll tell you exactly what it looks like. And if not, I'll tell you that too. Okay. I'm going to be really honest. There's no pressure. There's no script. There's no sales. It is just clarity to see if this is exactly what you're looking for. You've just tried hard enough for long enough. And I think now it's time to work smarter, not harder. Right? All right, ladies. Well, I hope you have a wonderful Thursday. Thank you for joining me today. We'll talk to you soon.